my name is Didi. I am a ballroom dancer and a makeup artist, and today I'm going to be showing you a beginner-friendly makeup look that you can do at your next ballroom dance competition. Alright then, now that we're all up close and personal, let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do is applying a lip scrub on my lips to exfoliate any dry skin. This is a sugar scrub from e.l.f. and works really well to give my lips a soft and moisturized look. I'm grabbing a facial tissue to work the product in and really exfoliate my lips before wiping all of the product off. Next, I'm going in with a lip balm to prep my lips for the liquid lipstick that I will be using later. I'm not really sure where I got this lip balm from, but it is the closest one that I have on hand right now. I'm just gonna let this sit while I work on the rest of my face, starting with my eyes. I like to start on my eyes first because that way if I make a mistake or need to start over, I don't have to worry about the rest of my face makeup. I'm starting off with the silicone-based primer on my eyes. This one is also from e.l.f. and has a little bit of pigment in it, so my skin doesn't look ashy or gray. I have no idea what this product is called, unfortunately. Primer is important because it makes blending eyeshadow easier and gives the pigment something to hold on to, making it last longer. I'm just using my fingers and letting the heat from my hands warm the product up and melt into my skin. Next, I'm taking a little bit of concealer. This is the NYX Gotcha Covered, and warming it up between my fingers before applying it all around my eye area. I do this so the pigment from the eyeshadow is able to show up brighter over my skin tone. I'm cleaning off my fingers and using a fluffy brush and mostly circular movements, I'm going to buff the concealer into my skin. This is so we don't end up with patchy eyeshadow. I'm not really focusing on my under eye area, but I am making sure that I get a little bit of product there too. I'm also careful to take the concealer all the way up to my brow bone as well. Editing magic! I did the other eye off camera. I'm just grabbing a damp beauty sponge to really make sure the product is worked into my skin and not streaky. This is a really thick, full coverage concealer, so I'm making sure to take my time applying the product properly. If you don't work a full coverage concealer in, you'll end up with an oily layer that just doesn't look right. I'm grabbing a new, clean, fluffy brush and going in with a dark brown shade from my Per Cosmetics Festival palette. I'm applying it lightly to the outer corner of my eyelid, and then with a lighter tan shade from the same palette, I am blending it into my crease. I'm using dark brown specifically because black can look too harsh and not blend as well into other colors. I make sure to take both colors almost up to my brow bone and do the outer corner first so I have a good idea where to stop and how much blending to do. It is much easier to add color than it is to take it out, so make sure you start off with a little bit and work your way up. If you have monolids, you want to carve out your crease with the tan and darker brown shade, sort of midway between your brow bone and your lash line. Remember to blend. You want the colors to flow into each other instead of looking like two distinct colors. And now, the other eye. Boom, editing magic. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I should be close to the shape I want. Next up, I'm going in with a silvery metallic liquid eyeshadow, and I'm smoking it out with a darker shade. My camera won't seem to focus on the darker shade, so here they are side by side so that you can see the difference. I'm starting off with the lighter silver on the inner half of my eye because it's a much more overpowering product than the darker silver. I'm not too concerned with how thick the wings look right about now because we'll clean them up in just a second. I'm taking a flat brush and using it to spread the product following the curve of my crease. I do have hooded eyes, so I'm making sure to make my crease slightly higher than it actually is. I'm adding the darker silver to the outer half of my eye and blending the two shades together with my cleaned flat brush. I'm adding some dark brown to the outer corners of my eyelids to intensify the dark silver a little more. The next step is eyeliner. I prefer using a liquid waterproof eyeliner because I find I get more control with a brush tip. To get a sharp wing, I would recommend getting a very fine and wet eyeliner. If your eyeliner is starting to dry out or fray at the brush, your wing won't be as sharp or clean. I'm bracing my elbow on a solid flat surface while I do this, so my hand doesn't shake as much. I like to start with the wing. I make one straight line about as high as I want my eyeliner to go, and then extend that line along to my eyelashes. I go over it and make it thicker as I go along. I extend the line to my inner corner ever so slightly so it makes a small hook. I find this helps give my eyes a slightly more dramatic look and lifts my eye a little bit more. I'm just checking to make sure my wings match, and they do! Definitely not after a couple of off-camera fixes, right? Going back in with my concealer and a very fine flat brush, I'm just going to clean up my eye area again. This is again a very thick, full coverage concealer, so I'm making sure to warm the product up. And using my small flat brush, I'm going to go over the areas I've made any mistakes or had any product fallout. I make a very thin line under my wing and I blend it downwards. This helps make the line even sharper, cleaner, and does a little bit of highlighting and lifting. I'm also doing a little bit of my under eye area to really highlight that inner corner hook. Now we move on to the rest of the face. This is the NYX Shine Killer Primer. It's a silicone blurring primer that helps your face makeup stay put while also making sure that your product doesn't cling to any dry patches you may have. I have combination skin, so sometimes I get dry patches on the bridge of my nose and on my forehead that can make foundation look really awkward and textured. I'm using my hands and taking the product down to my neck because I will be applying foundation there later. Speaking of foundation, this is my holy grail foundation. It is the NYX Total Control Drop Foundation, and it's a super lightweight formula that you can build up to your desired coverage. I'm using the dropper to apply some of the product on my cheeks, forehead, and on my jawline, and then grabbing my damp beauty sponge, I am blending the product in, being very mindful to avoid my eye area. I like to work some of the product into my hairline so that it blends in well and doesn't create a weird line between my scalp and my face. Remember to also take the foundation down to your neck. I'm going back in with my concealer to cover up any problem areas as well as get my under eye area ready for baking. My face looks very flat and one-dimensional here because it's essentially become one shade with no shadows or highlights, so we're gonna fix that in a second. I'm using my beauty sponge to blend the product in, as well as to take off some of that excess product. Next, I'm going in with a fluffy face brush and some powder. You could use loose or pressed powder. And we're just going to bake and set our makeup. I prefer using pressed powder because of the mess that loose powder has. And taking a flat face brush, I'm just packing it onto my under eye area. If you have under eyes that crease easily, I don't recommend doing this as baking can accentuate fine lines and creases. I'm using my fluffy face brush and brushing powder onto my face to keep everything matte and set, as well as to take off some of that excess powder on my under eye area that looks cakey. I'm using this cream contour shade from an e.l.f. bronzer and blush duo, as well as this angled contour brush from e.l.f. to carve out my cheekbones. I go to the top of my ears, angle it towards my chin, and use a little bit of product at a time to create the illusion of more prominent cheekbones. I also bring the product up around my face to create a little bit of warmth as well. Remember that you can always add product, but taking product off is more difficult, so use a little bit at a time. I also like to define my jawline a bit more by adding a little bit of contour to the underside of my chin and blending it almost to the top of my neck. And I just realized I forgot to do my brows. So I'm just checking the shape of it here because I normally just pluck and trim my brows since I have pretty full brows. And I decided that I want to accentuate the arch of my brow a little more. I'm using the e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil and using very soft feather-like strokes. I'm just defining that arch a little more. I'm going in with a clear mascara to set and tame my brows and make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to. I'm using a clean spoolie and brushing through that clear mascara and diffusing the product that I had used to fill in my brows earlier, as well as checking the shape of my brow and making any adjustments as needed. I promise this is the last time I'm breaking out the concealer. I'm using the flat brush I used earlier and lining my brows with the concealer. This may look absolutely insane now, but after we blend it out, it'll make my brows look much more defined. It's super important to only use a small bit of product because we've already done our eye makeup and we don't want to mess with it at this point. I'm using whatever product was left over on my contour brush to add more color back onto my forehead and blend it into the contour on my temples. Speaking of adding life back to my face, it's time for blush. I'm using the NYX Ombre blush for this. It is a super bright pink blush that shows up on my skin tone. It's really pigmented, so you only need very little for the product to work. I'm tapping off the excess and finding the apples of my cheek and blending upwards for a lifted and defined look. Because we've used so many cream and liquid products, the blush is going to cling and be difficult to blend, leaving it looking streaky or patchy. I'm grabbing my fluffy face brush with a little bit of powder in it and using it to help diffuse some of that pigment as well as brush off the powder that we had applied in my under eyes to bake. We're almost done, a few more steps to go. I'm gonna set my makeup first because I want all of this to stay as a single layer. You can use whatever setting spray you're comfortable with. Dewy setting sprays will give you a glowy look. Matte will keep you shine free. Today I am using the e.l.f. Stay All Night setting spray for a matte look. I spray the product on and grabbing my cleaned stipple brush, I am gently patting my face to dry the product faster and fuse it into one layer with my makeup and prevent dripping. I do my highlight after my setting spray because I find that the setting spray dulls the glitter and diffuses the product a little bit. This would be great for everyday makeup, but today we really want our highlight to pop. I'm using a sample of the Ciate Moon Dust and the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in the shade Moonlight. They're very similar shades with slightly different undertones. I'm finding the highest point of my cheekbone and putting a little bit of Moonlight up to my temples. I also pop a little bit on my Cupid's bow and down the center of my nose. I've cleaned out my stippling brush from the blush, and I'm just going to use that to blend the product in a little bit so it looks less like a line of product on my face and more like light reflecting off my cheekbone. I'm layering the Ciate highlight over that to intensify the look and give us a multi-dimensional highlight. I'm picking up a little bit of the product on my fingers and dabbing them on the underside of my arches on my brow bone to catch some of the light there. Next up, lips. First, I'm starting with a lip pencil. I make a little X on my Cupid's bow and trace the line of my upper lip and fill in the space. I find smiling helps stretch your lips in a way that makes applications way faster. I line and fill in my lower lip the same way and make a couple of adjustments as I go. I normally don't overline my lips, so I'm not doing that today. A little bit of product slipped outside my lip line, so I'm using a Q-tip and some micellar water and just cleaning it up. I'm using the Rimmel Stay Matte Liquid Lip in the shade Firestarter. It's a pretty decent, long-lasting liquid lip, and I usually only have to reapply if I've had water in between my heats. I apply this on my lips and then use a lip brush to get the lipstick in a nice, clean swipe. The last and possibly most intimidating step, false lashes. For your false lashes, you want to pick a pair that goes with your eye shape. I tend to favor lashes that fan out at the outer corners because I have almond eyes and those lash styles complement my eye shape best. First, you'll have to measure the lash against your eyelid and cut off any extra you might have at the inner corner. You want to make sure that the band length is comfortable and won't poke you in your tear ducts. You can use any kind of lash glue. I recommend the Duo Lash Glue. It's a decently cheap tube, and one tube can last you a long time. Just make sure to mix the product before applying because it separates easily. I'm using an eyeliner brush to apply the glue to the lash band, making sure I have glue on the inner and outer corner of the band specifically. While I'm waiting for the glue to get tacky, I'm applying some of the glue directly on my eyelid over my eyeliner just to make sure I really get it secure. Because the lashes are sitting on your eyeliner, you can also go back and fill in your eyeliner later if you want, which will give it a cleaner line. To apply your lash, use the same hand as it is the side of your face and line the center of the lash to your eyelid and adjust the inner and outer corner until you feel it's secure. You want to make sure that your lash is as close to your natural lash line as possible and secure in the middle, inner, and outer corners. If there's a gap between your natural lash line and your false lashes, it will look pretty obvious. Make sure you haven't accidentally glued your lashes shut because that hurts. I'm repeating the same steps on the other lash. And ta-da! Lashes are on! Sometimes it takes me 5 seconds, and sometimes it takes me 5 minutes. Right before I go on the floor, I like to add a little bit of lip oil or gloss in the center of my lip for a fuller and more hydrated look. Doing this prevents lipstick from ending up on your teeth. And there you have it. Here's your final look. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!